Hey, welcome back to Encounters with Soul. Michael here. I'd like to speak about synchronicity, those memories that you've had or moments in life where they really stick out as a momentous moment in your life that have changed your life in some particular way, where you recognize in the moment that this is big. So I'd like to tell you a story, and this story has to do with how I found community, which has been one of the backbones of my shift in the world and finding my place as far as, or my tribe, I guess is probably the better way to put it. What am I here for? Just a place to find my ground, my support, myself. In 2007, I'll start my story, as when my son was born, and it was profound. That particular year was also the same year that I lost my job. I was working in a very high-powered corporate environment, at least that's the way I remember it, where I worked a lot and I made good money, and I didn't see my family very much. And I had 65 associates, and it was in multifamily housing property management, and I thought that my purpose in life was to help build community, which is why I got involved in real estate and multifamily housing. And somewhere along the road, I got lost. And I was looking for something that I wasn't getting there, and I was increasingly getting miserable, and I didn't know how to convey it. I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know what to do differently, and eventually I lost my job. 6 months prior to losing my job, I had already started my own company with my brother-in-law, which was also real estate based, and I thought we had found something big. We raised a bunch of money and put some of our own skin in the game, and we, unfortunately, in 2008, when the market went south, we lost that. It was very devastating for me, and I went through a very, very big depression. That depression landed me in a place where I was literally watching YouTube videos for hours at a time, hoping that I could find validation in the world for what had happened to me and find some redemption or something in the world that would change itself to make me feel better, like, oh, I'm not the only one. Because I was having just a real rough time finding my community and a new job, reinventing myself. No one wanted to hire a real estate guy, since there were no real estate jobs, or an entrepreneur. They were interested in somebody who was going to stay, and they certainly weren't willing to pay what I thought I was worth. So it was a rough road. I was very, very fortunate to have some mentors at the time to help guide me through and work on myself. It became the beginning of my self-realization and my journey. And somehow along the way, I found community, and I was frustrated because I wanted more. So I randomly did a Google search. I don't know what went into my head to want me to do this, but I literally typed in intentional community. And I was surprised at what I got, because what I got was a directory. It was co-housing of the USA, I do believe, and I didn't know what co-housing was. And it didn't matter. It was just a bunch of different communities, and I just started looking at them, and I read about some of them and decided I wanted to respond to a few of them that were close by. One of them was just 10 minutes up the street, called Sangaya. So I chose to reply, and lo and behold, they were the first one. And actually, there was, I think, two communities actually responded to me. This particular one was the first one to get back to me, saying, we'd love to have you at dinner. If you want to do a tour, that's great. Learn more about us, we'll learn more about you. It was a very welcoming email, and I wasn't really sure. I didn't know it was going to go. So I talked to Katie about it, and it felt very synchronistic. Like, there's something going on here. We don't know what it is, but I'm intrigued enough to continue to explore. And interestingly enough, at the time, we were holding what's called garden socials at our house, on the weekends, with the hope that we could meet our neighbors and get to know them better and talk with them. And I made these really cool marketing flyers and posted them on the mailboxes and sent them to their HOA, hoping they would advertise them, and they didn't. It fell flat. Eventually, more of the Sangayans that we ended up getting to know came to our own garden socials than our neighbors did. And it was really validating for that experience to have happened, because it was clear this was not where we wanted to be or stay. So we became increasingly intrigued by this whole community thing, or the Sangaya community. So we went to dinner and we visited and we contributed in their gardens. They have big lots of gardens and goats and chickens at the time, and got to meet the neighbors in the community, and because they were just up the street. and learned what is community and what it's really all about. And I think it was probably a few months into that where somehow or another an opportunity for us to move in came up. Again, a validating experience to say the least, to say that maybe we're in the right place at the right time. Doug at the time was the individual that had invited us. He was the owner of this particular house and was considering moving into the downstairs studio and have us move into the upstairs. He knew we didn't have any employment at the time, and we were concerned that we wouldn't be able to honor him and paying his rent without a job. So even though he had offered us a place, we declined out of fear. And I remember my daughter, who came to us and said, "What are you doing? This is what you want. Why are you have the money. You sold 70% of all of our stuff." And literally it was true. We were sitting on 6 months worth of rent that we could have offered. And we were afraid that we didn't have enough. So we were pretty quick to reanalyze the words of wisdom of our daughter. And we emailed Doug and called him immediately and said, we would like to take up your offer, and we have an intense desire to be here. It's clear that the messages are there. We got scared. This is our intent. And what happened? The place was no longer available. Somebody else had stepped in. We felt like we really lost an opportunity that was really big. Ironically, after sending an email out after that had happened to the entire community of Sangaya, saying our intent to be here, that opening came back up again. The person had dropped out of the running, and we swooped up and took the space. And we've been living there for 5 years now ever since. And I will tell you that living in this particular community has been the biggest personal growth story of my marriage and of my life, and it has given me so much. I'm grateful for the opportunities, and I'd like to talk to you more about what community means to me in another video, and what this community that I live in, why is it so special and why is it so important, and what is so unique about it. I think right now it's important to know that this is my tribe, and this was a very synchronistic experience for me. I'd like to allude, there's another story, a very short one, that really talks about synchronicity. And it has to do, after we moved into this community, I had received a notice in the mail. And it was about a particular penny stock of all things that I bought years ago when I was in college, because I was just absolutely convinced that I was going to make all this money on this penny stock. And of course I didn't. I lost money on this penny stock, but the ticker symbol was WORC, W-O-R-C. And at the time it stood for Wordcraft Systems. Now, why is all this important? This sounds really silly, right? Well, I got this letter in the mail that says, "Hey, congratulations." Well, I took it as a congratulations because there were all these changes that were coming about with this company, Wordcraft Systems. They changed their name. They changed it to Wake Up Now, which was like a real knock side of the head, because at the time I was going through some financial difficulties, some clarity issues about the job that I did find with what I wanted to do, and it was even more interesting that along with the change of the name, so what? The stock price went up, and I made like $800. And so it was real interesting because at that time I was going through a shift. And the shift was really, I am valuable and I deserve, and I'm allowing myself to receive. And in order for me to receive, it's time to give more. And so I was in the process of giving a lot more back to the people around me, to my men's circle, to my community. And that perhaps I don't know if it's a belief in a karmic belief or a journey or what, but somehow or another that came back to me, and it was a real wake-up call, validating this is right. Wake up, you're doing great. And you know what, there's probably a lot more that I didn't get, because I do believe that there are strong messages in the world that we're not always privy to. And I felt like I got it when that came. So thank you for listening to my story. There are many more of those where they come from. Please contact me, message me, comment, and absolutely subscribe to this video if you want to hear more. My interest is in connecting with certain individuals that may be on a similar journey, to hear your story, share mine, and learn from each other. Testimonials and endorsements of your own experiences are really powerful for your own liberation, and it certainly has been for mine. Thank you for joining. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next time. Signing off.